Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and today's episode is cut from another podcast of which I am the co-host, The Soul of Enterprise, which is also sponsored by Sage. The Soul of Enterprise is dedicated to belief that business has a spiritual, though not necessarily religious, component. I hope you enjoy this excerpt. If you do, please visit www.thesoulofenterprise.com for more.
Anytime that a individual or a firm wants to use a online application or an online platform, it's important to always understand sort of what rights you are giving up, right? And I do think that this whole conversation is a good, moment for all of us, be it here in the U.S., be it in China, be it individuals or firms to actually understand, right? What rights, what information, what pieces of ourselves we are giving up to firms like Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, and all the rest. And so what I would say there is that, it's really going to, boil down to the core, question right here is, what do individuals value more, right? Their privacy and their information, or the applications that they can use via Google, via Instagram, via TikTok, via Snapchat, all the rest.
Cool. Ron, what are your thoughts on that? Security and the blockchain being an answer to some of the security holes that we see now?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that perspective that blockchain technology will enable greater control. I think one of the real challenges, and I'll almost push back on what some of my colleagues talk about, I don't think it's a technology challenge. I suspect leveraging blockchain and will continue to evolve, that we'll continue to have the tools to use blockchain on a corporate and even on an individual level. I think part of it, Ed, is re-educating ourselves. We give up so much information to giant corporations like Facebook and Google right now. And what we're looking at is a world where we own our individual information. And one of the examples I often put forward is in healthcare. And for example, if you have 6 doctors, technically you have 6 different sets of data, 6 different profiles of who you are to 6 different sets of doctors. What happens when blockchain technology enables us to own that data on our own? Will we be comfortable doing that? And for me, it's a generational conversation. My elderly family members may not be, and maybe it's even difficult for me, but I will have, there will be children and grandchildren coming after me where they will have the opportunity to own, and in some instances, and Sean, you and I have had this conversation in the past, monetize their data. Mm-hmm. And what does that do to the economic models of the Facebooks and Googles of the world? That world is coming.
Yeah, turns it upside down completely, or actually, as George would say, inside out. But again, staying on the medical thing. And what if you connect via blockchain your 23andMe and the very DNA, the essence of who you are, in some kind of a blockchain technology, and that goes with your profile, not only to the first doctor, but to all 6 doctors that you see. Ron, continue on thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then we start asking ourselves really important questions about how do we manage one of the tools for managing that data? How do I decide that Dr. Ed Kless gets to see certain information, but others don't? How do I decide how that gets monetized? And taking that 23andMe example even further, when you look at the science of the genetic work that's happening, it'll become not just a matter of, hey, tell me based on my genetic profile where I come from, but tell me what diseases I might be predisposed to. And how does that play from an insurance perspective? How do we manage that data in a secure way? And I would argue that the underlying foundation of technology and data storage will come from leveraging blockchain technology. There's really no other way to do that without giving up core fundamental data that is inherent for all of us. And in doing that, if we don't do that, we lose that privacy again.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting point. Sean, over to you. The application from an accounting perspective might be something more along the lines of preventing identity theft or income tax filing, or even perhaps voting. What about thoughts on that?
Oh, sure. So, the applications and the upside for blockchain from a bookkeeping, record keeping, accounting point of view are almost the upside is almost impossible to actually calculate, right? Because by its nature, anything to do with accounting, bookkeeping, be it in healthcare, be it in doing AP, AR, inventory records, or voting records, items like that, it honestly is going to boil down to being able to compare the current records versus the inputting data, and trying to understand sort of what's happening between the information that we have, the inflow of information, and then trying to reconcile any differences. So I would say really, Ed, that the application of, I think, blockchain for anything to do with insurance, accounting, markets, shipping stuff, back and forth, be it actually goods or information. And I do think that an area that is not talked about too much is the idea of trying to harness blockchain for IP, for any sort of intellectual property, which I would assume that all of us now are at home sort of watching more stuff on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all the rest. All of that is going to be a issue as to, one, how to monetize all of those streams of information and data, and then two, how to accurately report that information now and going forward.
For more Sage advice, visit and subscribe at sageadvicepodcast.com.